So welcome everyone. Well, welcome back, I think, for most of you. So it's lovely to have you here. A couple of our regulars let me know that they won't be here today, but they wanted everyone to know that they'll be back next week. So, this is our last August meeting, and August has been dedicated to an exploration of the breath and how it reverberates through our entire being, whether it's our body or our mind or our intuition or our sense of connection to others, our sense of joy. And so we will continue with that theme today. And then next week, I'll surprise you with what will happen in September. And as of October, I just wanted to let you know we will probably move to a longer class, either 75 or 90 minutes, but I'll keep you posted along the way. So I invite you from here to find a comfortable seat. If your knees tend to pop up when you're seated on the floor, goodness, I can't talk this morning, then bring a blanket under the sits bones or a little wedge or something just to make sure that you kind of feel yourself really grounded to the earth, not just through the back. Because sometimes what I notice is that people's lower backs will pop out when they sit a while, and that doesn't support a nice free breath. And so it's really important when we sit to breathe to make sure that we have a nice alignment where you kind of feel like you have, oh yeah, I have freedom for my abdomen to expand here. And so then from that grounding into the earth, find a sense of expansiveness through the spine, maybe even feeling like a sense of tugging upward through the top of the skull. And then if it feels appropriate for you today, I invite you to close your eyes, to shift your attention inward into your inner world, your inner sensations. And maybe some of the primary sensations you move to are physical. You might become aware of where you're making contact with the earth. You might notice your body settling in, feeling maybe a little intuitive need for some wiggles and adjustments. Be open to whatever sensations emerge for you. And knowing that your physical needs will be in your awareness, shift your attention now to your breath. Get an overall sense of how the breath is moving in and out today, in this moment. The breath is a wonderful focus of attention because it constantly changes, and so it's a beautiful object of curiosity. And often we're not really attuned to how our breath changes inside of us across the day or the weeks or even the years. And so take this moment to hone your attention skills to really notice the breath. Notice where in the body you can sense the breath. There are lots of places where the breath is quite tangible in the body, so you might notice the rising and falling of the belly. You might notice an expansion and contraction in the lower rib cage. Or maybe you feel the breath very tangibly as cool air traveling in through the nose, down the throat. And as warm air as you exhale out through the throat and through the nose. And as you're attending to the breath and its physical manifestations, also begin to notice its texture. Is your breath smooth today? Or are there little hitches or glitches? And is the texture similar on the inhalation as on the exhalation? Or is one maybe a little bit more uneven than the other? And then perhaps get a sense of how much breath is moving in and out for you today. Is your breath free and deep? Or is it a bit more shallow and constrained? Notice that simply with curiosity, without any judgment. Even how much breath we take in and release can change over the course of minutes or days. And then perhaps get a sense of how long it is taking you today to breathe in and breathe out. Does it feel as though your breathing rhythm today is pretty rapid with lots of breaths per minute? Or does the breath feel more on the slower side? Or is it simply average for you? Just notice. Notice also if there's any place in the breath where you meet a sense of resistance, a sense of challenge. Or whether the entire breath moves easily and freely. You're simply attending like a scientist, collecting data, learning more about how your energy moves in this moment. Simply for information, not to create change or judgment. And then having this knowledge now about your breath, you can either have your hands on your thighs or you can bring your palms together at your heart if this feels appropriate and bow your head to heart center. And from having explored the inner manifestation of the breath, having created some awareness and information about how energy is moving through you this morning, invite an intention to emerge for your time on the mat today. Then I invite you to breathe that intention into your heart and send it out into the world as you breathe out. And then release your hands, open your eyes if they were closed, and lift your focus. And we will come to standing. We need a couple of blocks today and a strap. I didn't say that earlier, so I'll say it now. Hopefully you have these things handy. And place your 2 blocks at the top of your mat so that you have them available for your hands. And once you have them settled there, We'll start with just a few sun breaths standing. We'll inhale the arms up. And we'll exhale the arms down. We'll do that a couple of times. And of course, you use the rhythm of your breath, so your movements won't match the movements of anyone else. They only match the flow of your breath. The next time your arms are up, keep them there. You might take a breath here. And then on your next exhalation, fold forward at the hip joint and bring the hands to the blocks in front of you. Make sure the blocks are aligned such that they're directly under the shoulder joint so that your shoulder, your elbow, your wrists are all lined up. And then as you inhale, exaggerate the curve in your back. It's like creating a little tiny back bend here in your forward fold. And then the next time, did I say that right? As you inhale, I may have said it backwards. And then the next time you exhale, round yourself down and make like a cat arch in your forward fold here. You might notice that your thighs will turn inward a little bit to make that happen. And then as you inhale, come back into basically a cow pose modified. And as you exhale, come into a modified cat, or a variation, I should say. Do that one more time, inhaling into cow. And then exhaling into cat in your own rhythm. The next time you inhale, walk the right foot forward and the left foot back so that what you end up with is a lunge position where the right foot is at the inside of the right block and then the hands are on the blocks so that you're nice and tall here, no collapsing in the chest. And then from here, just sense the forward leg drawing back into the hip joint and the back leg drawing forward so that you're squaring up the hips in this lunge. And then pulsate with the breath. There's likely no visible movement on the outside of your body, but as you inhale, you're slightly lifting through the hips, and as you exhale, you're slightly lowering through the hips. This is just a tiny bit of stretching for the left groin here on the exhalation, and then a bit of a release on the inhalation. Then if that feels comfortable for you, you can deepen the stretch and make it visible so that as you exhale, you really allow the hips to drop, consciously stretching that left groin. There's a big muscle in that hip joint that's called the psoas, and it tends to be really tight from sitting. And so we're just giving that muscle a very loving stretch here. And then lift the hips back up and stretch the forward knee so that you're coming into a version of pyramid pose. The knee doesn't have to become perfectly straight. Just notice where you are this morning in your body. You might encounter some resistance if this is your first big hamstring stretch for the day. Pyramid pose is a really big stretch for both legs, and so just notice what comes up for you here as you're working at your edge of stretching. Notice what happens to the breath and really sense into that sensation of stretch in the back body here. Very patient work. And just notice if by simply being with this stretch, the resistance around it might loosen a little bit. With your next inhalation, pivot forward again into your lunge. And with the exhalation, pivot back into pyramid. And we'll do that 1 or 2 more times, depending on your own breath cycle. So you don't have to be aligned with my movement here at all. And just notice if the resistance or the challenge shifts as you do this a couple of times. The next time you come forward into your lunge position, stay there. And then bring your weight into the left hand so that the right hand is free and unweighted. And with an inhalation, you will twist open to the right. As you exhale, you come back down. You'll do that a couple more times so that you're taking this next spinal movement as we're waking up the body. One last time, this time really notice where you might meet resistance or challenge. And notice what at that place of challenge or resistance happens to the breath. And how can the breath facilitate moving through that challenge. Then from here, touch the back knee down. Walk your blocks back just a little bit, and it may vary where you really need those to be. Let the back foot come flat onto the ground and slide yourself back onto that foot for a nice hamstring slide in the front leg. And maybe your seat comes to your foot, maybe it doesn't really matter. As you inhale, you come back forward and you can come past the ankle of the forward leg. So we're making a big slide here, forward and back a few times. Again, just collecting data about where we meet challenge and how we meet the challenge. Do we resent it and say, why am I doing this to myself? Or is there a certain joy in it of, wow, I can actually play at my edges and loosen up around my resistance? Or is there fear? Just notice. And the next time you come forward, stay there. Tuck the back toes back under and come back into your lunge. And just notice your lunge one more time here. And then shift yourself back to plank pose. And then step the left foot forward. So that you're now on the other side. Start in your lunge and start with the pulsation of letting the pelvis drop a little bit as you exhale and rise as you inhale. Just finding that gentle stretch of that large muscle in your hip, now in the right leg. Up. And very gentle movements here. Just to that place of your edge. Oh yeah, I really feel this stretch now. And can I loosen around this stretch? Not in the sense of pushing more deeply into it, but of being with it, exploring it. The next time you rise up, stay up. And then as you exhale, straighten the forward leg. Coming into your pyramid pose. Pulsing now with the breath coming forward into the lunge. As you exhale and inhaling. Stretching back, or the opposite with your breath, whatever works for you. Just moving with the rhythm of the breath and noticing which is easier for you, to inhale forward or to inhale back. Because that too might loosen the resistance around the movement. when you can synchronize the breath with the sensations in the body. The next time you come forward into your lunge, stay there. Bring your weight now into the right hand so that the left hand can be free and clear. And with your inhalation, lift yourself into a beautiful heart-opening twist. And as you exhale, release back down and flow with your own breath. Inhaling up, exhaling down, noticing that place where the twist presents a little bit of challenge. Breathe into it and invite yourself to loosen up around that challenge. Maybe there's a mental story that is stopping the twist more so than a physical sensation. And just notice that. Collect that data. One last time. And then from here, when you've returned to your lunge, reground yourself in the lunge. Maybe even noticing that little bit of pulsation as you inhale and exhale. And then release the back knee down, foot flat to the ground. Walk the blocks back, whatever amount feels good for you. And then as you exhale, slide yourself back toward the heels. And inhale yourself forward past the ankle. Creating opening in the hips, creating openings, and whatever emotional response there may be to this. Creating an opening around the mind stories that may emerge, all the while allowing the breath to facilitate the movement and the loosening of any resistance. One last time to the back. Forward, curl the toe under, lift yourself back up into the lunge. Now I'm going to change sides so I can face you. And bring yourself around to a wide-legged stance. You can actually keep your hands on the blocks if you would like. And let your feet turn out here. And we're going to a hamstring slide again, but this time instead of just forward and backward, we're coming side to side. And so you'll come to the right, and as you do, the toes on the left foot will lift off the ground. You give yourself the space to move over. You can have the hands on the block, or you can have the hands on the ground. Meet your challenge, meet your resistance, and then with an inhalation, switch sides. You don't have to switch sides on every breath here. You can be in the challenge for a breath or two if you would like, and just notice what it's like to really open the back of the leg here as you then once again pivot to the other side. When the toes lift on the foot where the knee is straight, really flex the ankle and notice what that does to change any sensation in the back of the leg. And as you meet sensation here, what happens in your breath? What is the story in your mind? And how does this resolve potentially, very intuitively, when you just give it space? When you have done both sides, so ending with the left leg bent, then you can let that movement stop And come back to neutral. Back to your wide-legged forward fold. If you let go of the blocks during the sliding side to side, bring them back and have your hands on them. And be in the same forward fold that we started with today, but with wide legs. And just notice how this changes the sensations in your body for you. You might by now want to see what happens to sensation if you change the height of your blocks. We've done quite a bit of opening, and so you might want to play and see, oh, do I have more release here? And be okay with whatever emerges, right? If you don't, that's perfectly fine. But if you do, maybe experiment and see, oh, how far can I descend into this forward fold in this moment, not with a particular goal that you want to reach, but really with careful attention to the process of noticing the challenge in the backs of the legs here, realizing that stabilizing the core actually resolves some of the resistance, and then being okay with whatever presents, not fearful, not resentful, not wanting more, or at least trying to cultivate that okayness. It may not come naturally, right? Our general stories override okayness often. It's a nice, patient stretch. If you want additional exploration here, you could carefully heel toe the feet out a little bit wider, keeping the toes slightly pointed inward and the heel a little bit more outward as you engage the muscles on the legs. So there's a lot of isometric engagement here. You can imagine really pressing the feet into the floor. And just notice how this fires the muscles in your legs. Maybe you're pulling the kneecaps toward the hips. And then if you would like, for a moment, just see if you can be here without hands at all. Maybe the arms can stretch out to the side. Maybe one arm at a time, one hand on the floor, one hand out to the side. Notice what variation works for you. Beautiful. And then release both arms back down. And phew, notice the shift in sensation, the shift in breath when you bring back the support from your hands. Then walk your right hand to the center. It can be on a block, so be discerning about what's appropriate for you. And then bring the left hand onto the small of your back, your sacrum. And then from here, press into the right hand so that the heart opens up to the left. So you're not opening into this twist with momentum of your left shoulder or your left arm. You're coming into the twist through the pressing into the floor and the stability of the core. And then look to the left. And just notice where you have sensation here, where you might meet challenge, and how can you soften around that challenge physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally. Breathe here. If your body has the urge to bring the left arm up, feel free to do that, but there is absolutely no requirement for that to happen. With your next exhalation, release the twist, release the left hand, and sink back into your wide-legged forward fold. And I really mean sink into it, but sink into it with engagement so the core is strong and the pelvic floor is engaged. Your legs are really strong and stable, but the torso releases and relaxes any amount that feels appropriate to you in this moment. Letting go of any gripping in the shoulders or the arms or the neck. Breathe into this release. Then with an inhalation, press yourself back up. Walk the left hand to center, maybe on a block, maybe on the floor. Use discernment. Use your inner voice to know what is appropriate for you here. Bring the right hand to the small of the back, to the sacrum, and then press into the left hand to open yourself up into this twist. Really feel the sensations of this shape, the engagement in the legs, the drawing in and stability of the pelvic floor and the core. And then if you feel as though it's appropriate for you and your body wants to do it, you can bring that right arm up and overhead. For my body, it works best if I take the arm forward and up rather than back and up. It just works better for my shoulder joint. So you could explore of how do I most easily lift the arm, if that is what you even want to try. Meet your edge here. Say hello to it. Welcome it. Don't look past it, but also don't shrink back from it. With your next exhalation, release the hand to center, and one more time, relax and release in the torso, staying engaged. Your legs might be shaking a little bit by now. They've been working pretty hard, but see if you can juxtapose that strength in the leg with a complete release in the upper body. Breathe in this upside down position and notice how the breath changes when you invert or half invert your physical being. With your next inhalation, rise back up onto your hands, heel toe the feet to center. Turn yourself forward on the mat and come into a closed knee squat. And then you can either bring the hands behind you to touch the bum to the floor, or you can see if you can do it with just your core, settling down softly if you can. And then go ahead and have a strap handy just in case you might want it, and also have a block within reach. We will need it a little bit later. And roll yourself down. Let yourself experience the absolute joy of just lying on the floor for a moment. No challenge, no resistance. And maybe notice that there is a lot of sensation in your legs. At least there is in mine. Maybe there isn't in yours, but my legs are definitely still tingling from the long hold and the wide leg forward fold. And so if that's there, let yourself feel the joy of that aliveness, that energy. Let the arms relax by your side, maybe at close to a T position, but not quite if that's not good for your shoulders. Just experiment with where do your arms feel comfortable here. And leave the, go ahead and bend the left knee and place the left foot on the ground. And then with an inhalation, lift the right leg up. And an exhalation, lower it down. If your right leg is too heavy when the knee is straight, you can bend the knee, create a shorter lever, and then the leg is not as heavy, and you can lift and lower with a bent knee. So it's really your decision which variation is appropriate for you. And keep lifting with one half of the breath and lowering with the other half of the breath. You can decide which half of the breath is more conducive to lifting and which is more conducive to lowering. That may differ for all of us, so experiment with that. Once you have a rhythm going, then take the left arm, put it by your side, and next time your right leg lifts, let the left arm lift with it. And let it land wherever it can land. And then the movement keeps going like this. Right leg, left arm, lifting and lowering in unison. One more time after you've completed the one that you're on right now. And then take your strap and make a small little loop in the strap. You could just tie it. It doesn't have to be a fancy loop. But you're just making a little bit of a loop like this that you can then slip on your right foot. And then hold the strap with your left hand. And the strap can be a little bit slack, so you're not actually trying to do anything with it yet. You're going to have the left hand on the strap. I think I may have said the wrong thing. I'm a little discombobulated today. And the left hand is out to the side wherever it feels comfortable for you. So maybe it's in a T position. And the right hand arm is just your anchor right now. From here, you are going to open the right leg to the right, and the strap will sort of run through your left hand. At some point, the right leg will want to stop naturally. You'll hit your resistance. At that point, see where you have the strap and make it just short enough so that you feel resistance between the hand and the foot from the strap pulling taut. Left hand pulling down toward the floor, right foot pulling down toward the opposite floor. So you're creating a lot of tension between the hand and the foot in the strap. I hope this makes sense. You're really working the left arm and you're really working the right leg here. And they're working in opposing directions. If your own body wants to straighten the left leg here, you can, but you can also keep that knee bent. And just feel the challenge, the resistance, the tension between the left hand and the right leg. This doesn't look like much of anything on the outside, but it's a lot of work on the inside. And then use the power of the core to bring the right leg up. Switch the strap to the right hand. And then draw the foot to the left and create that same tension now on the other side. The right foot might not go far to the left at all before you hit that point of challenge. And then just tauten the strap and feel the work in the shoulder muscles, the arm muscles, the leg muscles to hold this tension. And notice what's happening to the breath. Notice how the mind is getting involved. Maybe there's some confusion of what is it that we're doing here? Or maybe there's a version of, wow, this doesn't feel so good. Or maybe you're like, wow, this is cool. It's a nice exploration of some muscles I didn't know I had. Just notice what your story is. And then with your next inhalation, bring the leg up. Bend the knee enough so you can take off the strap, but keep the strap handy. And then with an exhale, lower the right leg to meet the left. And for a moment, just draw your attention into your two legs and see if there are noticeable differences between the legs before we move on to the next side. One really freaky thing that happens for me in terms of sensation here is that my right leg now feels a lot longer than my left. I don't know if any of you feel that. Yeah, cool. All right, and then you can bend the right knee, place the right foot on the floor, and inhale the left leg up. From here, get prepared for movement, and again, you decide whether you're inhaling to lift or exhaling to lift. Just notice what your body wants. Explore this with just the left leg lifting and lowering for a while, using the rhythm of your breath. If you feel like the lever is too long, you can bend the knee and lift and lower the leg in its bent variation. It's completely up to you, and both create the same neuromuscular pathways. And then when you feel ready, you can start adding the right arm. Whenever we move opposite limbs like this is called a cross crawl pattern. It's really, really good for your brain. It's a nice challenge for the brain. And so you might even notice how your brain is meeting this challenge, whether there's resistance, fear, aversion, confusion, and just be with whatever it is. Two more rounds. And then as you finish your current one final lift and lower. Beautiful. Grab your strap and then lift the left leg up, catch the foot with the strap, hook it in. Hold the strap loosely in the right arm out to the side, and then drop the left leg over to the left until you meet resistance, until you meet your edge. Your body says, okay, that's as far as that leg wants to go, and then create that tension between the arm and the leg. The arm grounding into the earth, the leg moving toward the earth. Not meeting it, but just creating momentum. And notice how your body and your breath and your mind are meeting that challenge. If you can, let that right hand rest on the floor, even if it means that the left leg has to float above the floor a little bit more, depending on the length of your strap and mobility in your hip joint. Stay grounded through the right shoulder. And then with your next inhalation, lift that left leg up, but don't use the strap to pull it up. Lift it up with the strength of your core, and then bring the strap to the left hand. And cross the leg over to the other side, creating that same sense of resistance, of challenge, of joy, hopefully, as you explore what's happening here to the body and the breath. As you're navigating this challenge, can your breath become smooth and soft? Can your mind find stillness? With your next inhalation, use the belly to lift the leg back up. Remove the strap. And then draw both knees into the chest. Give yourself a little hug and roll side to side. Re-lengthen the spine in case it kind of crunched itself up. And then place the arms down by your side. I like to face my palms down here to have some sense of support. And lift both legs straight up. From here, just as we did standing earlier, come into a wide-legged forward fold, just lying on your back now. So the legs open wide. And just notice how different this same shape feels that we did earlier when you're on your back as opposed to standing up. Press through the heels so the ankle is flexed and make your legs come as alive as they were when you were standing on them. So drawing the kneecaps toward the hips here. And if you want more, you can take your arms and stretch them through the opening of the legs. Maybe even lifting the head if you would like, but there's no requirement here, right? You can also stay on your back, arms relaxed. There are lots of beautiful variations here. If you are reaching the arms through the legs, really engage the core and let the core hold you here. Don't use the momentum of the arm. Beautiful. Then release yourself back down. If you did have the head lifted and the arms, take the hands, use them to bring the legs together. Then touch the feet to the earth and grab your block. Hopefully it's still handy. Press your feet now, and I should say for this next position that we will take, if you have a sensitive back or spine, you might want to spread a blanket under your torso. You could just take a blanket in this shape and place it underneath you and then put your torso on it. If you are fine on your mat, if your mat is soft or you're on carpet, you may not feel the need for that, but if you're on a good floor, it might be nice to have a blanket underneath you. So, all right, from here, with your block in hand and your knees bent, feet on the ground, lift your hips up by pressing into the feet, and then take the block and slide it under your sacrum. Use either the lowest setting or at most the medium setting. Don't use the high setting. We're not really doing back bends. We're just creating a lift here, is all. And then let the hands relax to your sides. Now this time I'm turning my palms up because what we're doing now is we're walking the shoulder blades underneath us. And for me, that works better if my palms are facing up. So you're creating almost like a little channel for your spine. So the spine doesn't really touch the floor here. You're kind of like standing on your shoulders, which gives you an idea of where we're headed. All right, so you're creating that. And from here on out, if you need to look at the screen, please get up to do it. Try to just listen, but don't turn your head side to side when you're in this position. It's not good for your neck. So if you're confused, get up, take a look, and then come back down. From here, give yourself a hug again, only this time you're lifted. So there may be just added challenge for the mind here. And then stretch the legs up. And extend and flex the ankles alternatingly. And just notice how this changes the sensation in your legs. See if the knees can stack above the hips and the ankles above the knees. So you're making a straight line from the hips to the ankles. If the block feels uncomfortable, it's in the wrong spot. Move it either higher or lower along the length of the spine, because when you hit the sweet spot, your sacrum, it feels really comfortable. So you are now in candlestick shoulder stand, and now I invite you to just play with any leg positions that want to come out of you. Maybe your childlike side, right? Maybe your legs open up wide. Maybe you're scissoring side to side. Maybe you're scissoring the long way. Maybe you're putting the bottoms of the feet together. Maybe you're kicking. Maybe you're bicycling. Just see what wants to come out of you here. It could be really funky stuff. But stay really grounded through the shoulders. There's not a lot of movement in the upper body at all. This is all happening in the legs. And so just play. let your joyful side really come out here. And if you feel the desire to settle into a particular shape, well, then do that. And notice perhaps how the breath aligns with the movement in the legs or with the stillness in the legs. And then I invite you, if it feels at all comfortable, to come to a moment of stillness with the legs lifted. If that's too much, you can bend the knees and stay lifted that way. And if it feels appropriate for you, you might even close your eyes now, just feeling yourself in space from inside out as you move into stillness. You might even scan your body here, starting with feeling a grounding through your shoulder blades, your arms, through the sacrum on the block. Even the grounding of the head as it rests on the earth here. You might notice that you're intuitively still creating stability through the belly as it supports the weight of the legs. We'll take 2 more rounds of breath here. And then inhale very consciously, and with the following exhalation, slowly begin to lower the feet to the ground, touching them down. From here, you might settle and relax for a moment in the supported bridge pose. Or if you would like to come back to that stretch in the hip joint, you could straighten the legs, hips lifted on the block, to make a longer bridge, not a bridge with bent knees, but a long span. And you might even stretch the arms up and overhead. But see what your own body and breath desire in this moment. Don't overdo and also don't underdo, right? Still play at that edge of resistance, that edge of challenge. And make a conscious decision, a discerning choice about which shape you want to take. For just a few rounds of breath here to further invite your nervous system to move into stillness. Perhaps in this shape, return very consciously to the movement of breath. Once again, noticing texture, location, how deeply or shallowly and how quickly or slowly you're breathing. If at any point you feel the need to remove the block, you can do that, of course, by just lifting the hips and sliding it down. Take 2 to 3 more conscious rounds of breath here. Releasing, letting go. If your legs are straight, gently begin to bend the knees, to press the feet into the floor. Bring the hands back down if they were lifted up above the head, and then lift yourself up enough so that you can slide the block away from you and set the hips down. Walk your feet wide on the mat to prepare for just a few windshield wipers, both legs moving in one direction, knees bent, and then both legs moving in the other direction, maybe moving with your breath, maybe holding for a while on one side, letting your own intuition guide you what it is that you want. And then if there are any other wiggles or movements or stretches your body would like before you move into your final resting pose, feel free to do that. And then as you move into your Shavasana position, let go of working at your edge and actually give in to what your body needs in this moment. Maybe a blanket under the head, maybe a blanket to cover you up, maybe an eye pillow to block out light, maybe a rolled up blanket under your knees. Just explore what will bring your body ease here. Invite your body to settle into this moment, surrendering your physical being to gravity. Invite your breath to let go, surrendering to the flow of prana, allowing yourself to be breathed. If there is a lot of chatter in the mind, surrender that too. Not in the sense of chasing it away or hanging on to it, just knowing that mind stuff comes and mind stuff goes. Just be at ease with whatever comes and goes. Surrendering the mind to your own inner wisdom. And from this place of letting go, move into a couple of minutes of silence. Gently invite your body to begin to wiggle and move in small intuitive movements. Allow your senses to awaken, taking in the outer world again. If it feels appropriate, invite a deep, conscious breath in and out. And when you feel prepared, begin very gently your journey toward a seat. Maybe plotting out the path in your mind before you actually move. And then transitioning through your right side, maybe taking a rest there to find the seat. And once you have arrived in your seat, you can rest your palms on your thighs, or you can rest your hands in your lap, or if it feels appropriate, you can bring your palms together at your heart. Bow your head yet again to your heart center, your own inner deeper wisdom. And tap into all that you explored today. Let yourself be in touch with what emerged for you in the body, in the breath, in the mind. Let yourself be aware of little wisdoms that may have emerged from the practice as you explored your edges, your resistance, your challenge, and your ways of softening around them. Also reconnect yourself to the intention that you had set for your time on the mat. Just review that for a moment. Maybe deciding if there is something in that intention you want to take off the mat, or maybe something new emerged that you want to take with you from your practice. Thank you so much for practicing with me. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's a pleasure. Take good care. Thank you very much, everyone.